What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. If you've been on PTCGO within the last week or so, you without a doubt have seen a very much big increase in the play of Reshiram on the ladder, and that is because Robin Shulz won the Latin American International Championships with Turbo Reshiram. This is his list, so congrats to Robin on a stellar finish with a very powerful deck. Welder decks were definitely the story of the weekend at the Latin American International Championships, with Turbo Reshiram winning the event, Mewtwo and Mewbox finishing second, many other Welder decks filling out the rest of the top 8. We did also see some Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia decks, and one of the reasons that Reshiram is such a powerful option in our current standard format is that Arceus, Dialga, Palkia decks can be a little bit slower, often manually attaching first and second turn to use their GX attack, and then only attacking by turn 3. Reshiram decks have the ability to get a turn to 300 damage with Double Blaze GX using Ninetales from Team Up to bring up whatever target they want on the bench and knock it out in one swift and easy hit. This deck also makes great use of Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff, punishing decks that play too many GX Pokemon down on their own side of the field. It also has built-in answers to Keldeo-GX, one of the strongest new cards in the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia decks is Keldeo-GX, and we've got Victini Prism Star as well as Turtonator as non-GX options to take out Keldeo-GX, and then of course just being able to gust around Keldeo-GX with Ninetales is always useful too. Another big finish at the Latin American International Championships was Dollstall, so we did see quite a few Dollstall decks using Lily's Clefairy Doll in order to continuously deny the opponent prizes and then eventually deck them out. This deck obviously has an excellent option to play around that with 9 Temptations, being able to gust up targets on the opponent's bench and continue to take prizes in the face of Lily's Clefairy Doll. And then it also has the Zebstrika in the list. We can evolve from Ditto into Zebstrika and use that sprint ability if we're playing against a Pidgeotto deck or some sort of control deck that wants to stop us from drawing cards. Zebstrika gives us a great out to be able to draw out of those late game reset stamps. And with Force Switch in the deck, we have plenty of options to switch our Pokemon back to the bench, promote Jirachis, and find more resources with Stellar Wish. All in all, I really love Robin's list. It's straightforward, no frills. This is just a very consistent, very strong Turbo Reshiram list, and I think the pure strength alone of the cards in the deck, combined with Robin's exceptional play, are what made up his championship run at the first international championships of the 2020 season. So we're going to give this deck a little bit of a spin on the ladder. I've seen a ton of it lately, and the Welder decks are pretty oppressive. I mean, that ability to gust up any Pokemon on the opponent's side of the field and deal, between 230 and 300 damage to it as quickly as turn 2 is just absolutely astounding. And then the fact that Double Blaze GX can also go through any effects on the defending Pokemon means that Charizard even has the option to knock out Keldeo-GXs or anything that has an annoying ability, even something like an Alolan Ninetales with the Luminous Barrier ability preventing damage done by Pokemon GX. Charizard can go through that too. So Charizard seemingly has the answer to everything. Even in Arceus, Dialga, Palkia with a helmet on, with a choice helmet on, still gets knocked out by a Reshiram and Charizard using Double Blaze GX for 300 damage because it ignores all effects on the defending Pokemon, including that choice helmet. So we're going to see if we can get a quick 300 damage on this Arceus, Dialga, Palkia and maybe show a proof of concept. Fortunately, we've got an amazing hand here. I can Pokemon Communicate the Ninetales back into the deck, and we are going to be setting up probably Ditto. And I've got Cherish Balls, see if my Reshiram's in deck. It is, and then we can Cherish Ball for a Dedenne and use Dedenne's Dede Change ability too. So one of the coolest things about Reshiram in our current standard format is that is that it gets that Mega Lopunny. I mean, before, Reshiram could struggle with Mewtwo decks, but now Mewtwo decks really do have a hard time getting up and rolling without benching too many Pokemon GX, and Reshiram just has that 3 energy attacker now that can instantly punish any sort of excessive GX benching. Now I'm wondering if I want to bench the Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff and just really go for broke here and try to swing into the Dedenne-GX, but I think that it's probably just not worth it at the end of the day. We could deal 180 damage if I attach the fire switch and do that, but really I've got all my my eyes on that Arceus Dagopalkia. So we're gonna do this, get a Dedenne and just Day change, save the bench space for a more consistent board setup. And I think we might as well switch while we have it, because they're not going to be doing any damage to me, I don't think, on the second turn of the game. They're just going to be using their GX attack. Sure enough, we did find the Giant Hearth and the Welder. So we are good to go in a lot of ways. I am going to just get rid of the Pokemon Communication and save that Dedenne in my hand, which is just fantastic. And it's looking like we have an excellent out to get ourselves... yeah, like I said, the turn 2 300 damage. I'm not going to bother using my Double Blaze GX here because we want to use Double Blaze GX and Arceus Dagopalkia, and this is exactly how Robin was able to win the International Championships. Getting aggressive starts like this, the Ditto down, we can very easily find that Ninetales next turn and deal 300 damage to whoever we want. And we see my opponent has the Fion. I really do like this card. I think it's nice, disruptive, and a cool little gust option that Arceus Dagopalkia decks have. Fortunately, I do have another switch in my hand. I think 4 switch is amazing with the with these decks, right? With decks that play Jirachi, 4 switch is just absolutely astounding. My opponent is going to be very salty that I knock out this guy, and this is literally game. It's this easy. I don't even need the stadium. We just drew into our fire energy. Robin played the 18 fire, which I really like. I think, with the flint as well, acknowledging that we were going to have the gust anyway. I had the Ninetales and the flint. We didn't even need it. That's how amazing our board state is. So I'm just going to Double Blaze GX this thing for 300 damage. And that's how oppressive Turbo Reshiram is, right? My opponent does not even get to play the game. I have literally Turtonator on my bench. All I need to do now is switch, find a Welder for the Turtonator, and I can just discard all of this energy off of my Reshiram to finish off this Keldeo GX. Meanwhile, my opponent needs to completely rebuild their board position. They tried manually attaching, 2 turns. They did get their GX attack off, but a lot of lists are not playing Ends Resolve. So they are going to, they actually are going to maybe be able to respond with a quick Ends Resolve now. But I actually have Gust. I could just bring this thing up and KO it. So we'll have to consider that. I think probably just gusting up the Arceus Dagopalkia and hitting it twice seems ideal since I do have the Ninetales built up. So let's just do that and go from there. I mean, I have plenty of energy to make this happen. I can manually attach to my Turtonator too if I want, so we're going to do that. Save the Dedenne in my hand since I have a ton of fire energy in it. We could bump that Chaotic Swell and give that a little shot while we can, and we're just going to go and gust this up, put more pressure on. With 230 damage, I mean, even if they heal some with Mallow and Lana, if they're dealing 180 damage to me, I'm still dealing 210 with Outrage back next turn, and I have double switch. I could Flare Strike again for 230 if I wanted to. I didn't even get Jirachi out this game. That's just how hot this deck is. When you draw your Welders, there really is no stopping it. There is no faster deck in standard format right now than Turbo Reshi, and you can see we got the old scoop. That's it. Robin's busted deck. This is a format-defining deck. Mega Lopunny did put in the work for this list. It fixed pretty much every problem that the deck might have with faster decks. I mean, Mewtwo and Mew was faster. I was testing Turbo Reshizard before the release of Cosmic Eclipse, and one of my main problems with Turbo Reshizard is that it couldn't consistently beat Mewtwo and Mew decks, and what it boiled down to was that Mewtwo and Mew was just a faster deck. Mewtwo and Mew could deal 300 damage for 4 fire energy using Charizard-GX's Flare Blitz attack, and Reshizard needed 6 fire energy to deal 300 damage. So comparing apples to apples, the Mewtwo deck was just more efficient at dealing big damage than the Reshizard deck. And now that we've got Mega Lopunny allows Turbo Reshizard to deal between 200 and 300 damage for just 3 energy, which is a huge change of pace and a really big deal. So we've got an awkward hand this time, going first, and it looks like it could be a mirror. We do have some nice draw cards available to us, though, and if I hit some Pokemon Communications, we should be good to go. Going to attempt to Heat Factory first to see if I can't find, you know, maybe a better target, and we do have the switch into Jirachi, so if I find a Pokemon Communication or something like that, we can be live for a nice welder. So let's thin first with the Fiery Flint, since I am going to be weldering no matter what this turn, and if I have to welder onto Dedenne or something like that, it's all good. You know, we'll maybe be able to clean that up with with Turtonator, but alas, okay, cool, yeah, this does happen, right? Not what you want, but we will go turn 1 welder onto Dedenne and see if maybe I can find a Pokemon Communication off of this Stellar Wish or something in order to get ourselves another Pokemon. So we've got Cherish Ball. I like that. At least I could start attaching to something else and go from there. I don't think I necessarily want to Day-Day change this whole hand away, though I don't have too much set up right now, so maybe we do. I do feel like Turtonator's in the deck. I feel like manually attaching to a Reshizard is still good. Heatran too, actually. If I get the Heatran, we can actually do some pretty critical damage with our Hopper and GX. So maybe we'll go with that. Attach the fire to Heatran. Heatran can clean up that energy, and he's a little bit more safe to put our energy onto than Turtonator. If we go with Turtonator, then it can get knocked out pretty easily by the opponent. I mean, maybe they can get their own Heatran going, and then if you put, you know, too many energy on Turtonator without actually attacking, it can go downhill pretty quick. So I do like Turtonator better as like an end of the game thing, where we have some energy built up in play, and then you slap down the Turtonator, you welder onto it, and you take a big knockout out of nowhere. Leading Turtonator can be rough sometimes. Like I said, it's just not the safest place to put your energy because it can get knocked out. Now, I thought I was playing a mirror. Looks like I'm playing against Blacephalon-GX. Blacephalon-GX, another welder deck that finished in the top 8 of Latin American International Championships. Another very aggressive deck that just has a lot of options available to it. It's like the non-tag team version of a welder deck. And then we did also see some baby Blacephalon decks doing well, also finishing in the top 16 in the Latin American International Championships. Obviously, the baby Blacephalon decks, if they can get set up and established, have a very favorable prize trade against Pokemon GX and Tag Team Pokemon GX. They can easily knock out Pokemon with 300 hit points. It's just a matter of getting the board state established. Also, the baby Blacephalon decks have a rough time against stall decks. They don't have the same catcher options and things like that that some of the other decks have. Like obviously in this Turbo Reshizard deck, the option to use Ninetales is just really, really golden against so many decks and in so many matchups. So let's see what we could do here. Still asleep, that's fine. I'm looking for a Pokemon Communication or something like that off of this Stellar Wish. I've got 3. And honestly, if I got a Cherish Ball, I would play that too. I don't really want to get too many more energy in the discard pile, so I'm just going for it. That's fine. We will definitely ship this hand Giant Hearth, energy down onto Heatran. And I guess I don't have any option to knock out anything on my opponent's bench, so I think we're just building this turn. That's fine. We're going to Cherish Ball and go for the daily change. And now that I know that I'm playing against Blacephalon, I'm definitely happy that I decided to go Heatran instead of Reshiram or something like that. And wow, I mean, look at that hand. That is certainly interesting. So we'll thin a little bit more and get some more fire energies into the hand. It's fine. I do want to find a Pokemon communication or something like that in order to get a Vulpix down. It seems like a big deal. I think putting energy at this point onto the other Dedenne is like fine. If we put too many onto our active Heatran, onto our Heatran, then if I didn't get that escape board, we kind of leave ourselves a little bit vulnerable. Now, I don't think that I want to just necessarily go all in on this Dedenne-GX, though I certainly could move 4 energy to the Heatran, knock out the Dedenne-GX, then potentially have enough energy in the discard pile to, Victini, the Blacephalon, and then Turtonator GX for game. I have all these welders in my hand, so I think that is just the play. This seems really good to me. We're going to retreat here, and we do have to, unfortunately, move 4 energy to the active, but that's enough to get the knockout. The Victini here will be our cleanup guy next. I don't want to put it down. It's like weirdly, if it gets knocked out, I'm in a really bad spot. So we are just going to pinch it, and I am going to Pal Pad these other 2 welders back into the deck while I have the Pal Pad in hand. We got Heatran-GX. All right, let him have it. And Heatran, just so good. I mean, that is a card that I can't believe how much I really missed the ball on the potency of Heatran when it was first released. I mean, the 130 damage, Heatran-GX, I just didn't really see the context of Heatran. Heatran-GX, 50 damage times the amount of energy you have. I was like, well, Macargo GX can do more in Mewbox decks. Reshiram just does more in, Turbo Reshiram decks. So where is Heatran really seeing play? And I think just the context of being able to clean up your welders, like you don't always draw the perfect hands. You don't always get to welder to exactly the target that you want to welder to. So being able to use that Burning Road ability and bring the energy all to one place. It doesn't matter if you had to welder to Dedennes on turn 1 and turn 2. You bring it all into one spot with Heatran-GX with 4 copies of Switch and 2 escape board and Jirachis. There's plenty of options to use that Burning Road ability. Unlike Blacephalon, we did see the second place World Championship list. Shintaro Ito did play 2 copies of Heatran-GX in his Blacephalon deck, and Blacephalon, unlike Turbo Reshiram, has very few Switch cards that are usually played in the deck. And we did see the top 8 list did play 2 Mallow and Lana, which is more Switch cards than I think I've ever seen in a Blacephalon deck. Unfortunately, my opponent was not able to get any Beast Rings played this turn, so that could just be disaster for them. They have to Lost Zone 4 energy to knock out the Heatran, and I'm going to have a pretty easy time taking the knockout with Victini Prism Star this next turn, so I'm really stoked on that. We're going to first thin. I've already got 9 energy in the discard pile, so we're like absolutely golden. Thin the deck a little bit more. Take a look. Turtonator is in there. I do want to find the Turtonator for sure. And we're going to drop the other escape board here. Victini down, welder to the Victini. I think I'm probably going to... There's Turtonator 2, absolutely insane. And I've got the Ditto, so I think we're going to place Ditto down. I don't think that there's any way that they can shove a non-GX at me. I guess if they get like Beast Energy, they can do it with Naganadel potentially, but even then they don't have any energy on the Naganadel and not nearly enough going on to make that happen. So this is looking like it's going to be a pretty solid wipe here for our Reshiram deck. We're going to do that, and I think we bench the Ditto, and we just hope we don't get reset stamped. Next turn, I can go in with Turtonator. We're just going to save that in our hand. And I could just put one more fire energy down as well. That seems fine. I don't think it particularly matters. So let's see, we do have 10. Yeah, we're doing 200 damage. And, with another fire on board, we could very easily Turtonator for just an absolute ton of damage for our final knockout. We're going to throw those 10 fires back into the deck, switch in hand, double Jirachi, plenty of draw outs, and a fire energy off the prizes is very good. And I already have the welder in hand with the Turtonator and the Pokemon Communication to get myself Ninetales TEU and Dedenne-GX. Now, I think in ideal board state, we don't actually want the double Jirachi on the bench. You want to kind of pinch that one spot there so that we can day-to-day change for the final energy if we do need to use Ninetales to gust anything up for game. One Jirachi is usually optimal, but we'll see if my opponent has any answer to this. I mean, they have to welder. They do not have Beast Ring available to them because I am only at 2 prizes remaining. And the crazy thing about Robin's list, it is just so fast and aggressive, and it does not play Reset Stamp, which is a card that many lists run, right? I mean, almost every deck runs Reset Stamp to try and give the deck some comeback potential. But Robin chose to play all aggressive cards. And I really like that choice on Robin's part to take those extra slots where maybe you would put Reset Stamp and instead play the Zebstrika, saying that I am just going to draw through my deck every single game. And as long as this combination of cards draws through its deck every game, it's usually going to win those games. And I think that, that philosophy could not be more true for this deck. And spreading out my energy like this makes me very safe. If I do get Venom Shot here, I'm in a pretty decent spot. Without the Zebstrika set up, it's a little bit scary. I do need to find Turtonator. I have Welder, but nobody to really put it onto. So let's see what we can do. If I do get... It looks like they're going to gust up one Dedenne and probably Venom Shot the other. So my opponent could steal this from me if we are not able to find our Turtonator. This is going to be a really brutal Reset Stamp to 2. And it's times like this where we want the Zebstrika for sure. I did have to discard that in my opening hand. We never found a Pokemon Communication. So this is getting sketchy. And let's see if we can make it happen. Keeping the Dedenne in the active is stressful as because they take away my option to use Stellar Wish after a knockout. But if they knock out the Dedenne in the active, then that's good for me. So let's see what we can do. Gotta hope my opponent does not have another Welder. They've only used 2. They have a decent chance of being able to find another, especially with this giant Hearth here. I just need to finish the game, or I run the risk of losing next turn. And that seems pretty likely. So let's Cherish Ball first. I mean, we could get Reshiram and Charizard, right? Without Turtonator in my hand, I do not have an out to go search for it. So 2 prizes remaining. I have to do something. We don't play Reset Stamp. And that was one heck of a Reset Stamp for sure. I can use Day-Day Change. I don't think it's possible for me to get enough fire energy into the discard pile to knock this thing out. That does not seem possible at all. I am rocking 1 right now. And I think that I have already used my my Fiery Flint, yes, and I don't have Sprint. I guess, like, Sprint gives me a pretty decent... Like, if I... No, I don't have Sprint. Yes, I've already used it. So I think that's... We have to hope they don't have it. That seems about where we're at. We'll go here, get 2 fires, and I just have to hope that they don't have Welder, but it seems very likely that they do at this point. So other than that, I mean, if I put the Dedenne down, I don't have room for an attacker. So we kind of have to do this. Just going to weld her onto our Reshi and put it up and use Outrage. There's our Pokemon communication. There's our Turtonator. But too little too late at this point. So they have 2 prizes left. Probably just retreat and attack with Victini to soften it up. Put those fire energies back into the deck. And we can see that a situation like this could be avoided if we just had. Yeah, I guess we'll evolve the Ninetales too. Could be avoided if we just had the sprint Zebstrika set up. But even then, I think what really lost me in the game is this Jirachi being on the bench. And in hindsight, like I said, we can't get greedy, can't bench the Jirachi there, because I could have played myself or given myself an out to easily get out of that stamp to 2 if I had just been able to bench the Turtonator. Granted, my opponent, maybe they would have had to do something like Venom Shot my Turtonator instead, which is not ideal, but we do see them going for the Giant Hearth. They probably have Welder, and we're going to slap them with a Well Played. This deck does play Dedenne. It plays it just unrelentlessly. I don't know if that's the right word, but it does just play the Dedenne. There it is. There's the Welder. Yes, well played. So this is a huge liability for us, and if we get caught up in situations like this, the opponent can just end the game with a well-timed reset stamp and some Venom Shots. Taking 4 prizes in 2 turns is crazy hectic, and I didn't have the bench spot to be able to kind of make sure that I had the assurance on that reset stamp play at the end of the game there. So that's it. GG's, and this is Robin Shulz, Latin American International Championship winning Reshiram deck. And I'm sure that Robin probably piloted it a little bit better than me, but that's okay. You got to see the real strength of the deck in that first game. In the second game, we really got out the gates quick. Like I said, you really do need to bench manage well with this deck. You can't bench that second Jirachi there because your opponent can just take advantage of that and leave you stuck with Victini Prism Star in an inopportune situation. So very close game there, that second one, and I think a little bit different managing, probably get away with it. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell. Check out fullgripgames.com for our TCG singles, sleeves, deck boxes, things like that. Thank you guys so much for supporting the store. It really means a lot. And also make sure to check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrickyJim. We've also got a brand new code website, fullgripcodes.com, and I work kind of hands-on with that code website, getting all the codes uploaded. It's instant PTCGO code delivery, so if you've ever been up at like 3 a.m. and been like, hey, I want some codes, you don't have to wait for anybody to email them to you. We've got fullgripcodes.com always available for instant PTCGO code delivery. So thank you guys all for watching the video, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.